Before I went to the Middle East, everyone was warning me about going there, being like, be careful, there's lots of explosions.
Why keep living by a board script when you can write your own and find out what's true? What do you discover when you stop listening and start looking?
The UAE and Saudi are quite welcoming. Don't listen to the media that's telling you otherwise.
When you choose curiosity over fear, the unknown turns into opportunity.
I applied for an ad on Facebook. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I was just seeing Bedouin outfits and rock desert. Just gonna take the risk and see what happens. And I did. And I took that risk, and it was a great risk. One of the best risks I ever took.
For the last 14 years, Alan J. Roberts, musician, entertainer, and creative strategist, has called Dubai home and built a life around creativity, community, and passion for what he loves.
For people now, if things aren't going good for you, don't hold yourself back. That risk could be one of the best decisions you make in your life, like how it was one of mine.
When the story at home stopped making sense, Alan chose to look elsewhere for one that did.
Like, I did live in Lebanon and I lived in Oman as well. It kind of changed my whole perspective on everything.
If you've ever wondered whether a different life is possible or just a story we tell ourselves, this conversation is proof there is. There is a gap between what we're told and what is lived, and I explore it in my conversation with Alan J. Roberts. Say you're talking to a 19-year-old right now. They aren't sure what to do. Go to school, get a degree, or buy a plane ticket somewhere. What's your 30-second answer? Alan, welcome back.
Yeah, round two.
Yeah, thanks for getting come on. A little technical difficulty, kind of messed up the first one, but let's just jump right in. So 14 years in Dubai. So before you arrived, what did you think the Middle East would be like, and what turned out differently?
Before I went to the Middle East, everyone was warning me about going there, being like, be careful, there's lots of explosions and craziness going on there. I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I wasn't happy with where I was here. I was recruiting people for credit cards and trying to get people into debt. So that was really soul destroying. And I was like, I had an opportunity to like be in a cover band. And I went to the Middle East. And as soon as I got on the Etihad airline, that was when I was just like, okay, all right. This is interesting. And it was completely not what I was expecting. When I landed, I was actually really shocked that the buggies, like the luggage carriage, like the carriages that hold the luggage. So pretty much I was shocked that it was free. Like I didn't have to put money into it. Like these little things, like I was just like, oh, okay. But it was, no, it was, it was not what I expected. It was better than what I expected. And I'm still there because of it.
Nice. So what was different about the airline?
The airline, because I only flew with North American Airlines, because I only traveled to the Caribbean before. But when I walked in this airline, the seats were all so big and luxurious and free economy. It was just very, very it just felt so upper class when I got in this elevator. It was my first impression of I'd never flown a Middle Eastern airline before. And it was really good. It was a really good experience. I really enjoyed it. And it was an empty flight, so I got lots of space and it was very comfortable. The seats were comfortable and yeah, it was great service. It was a good time. 14, 15 years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, just for some context for listeners. So in the area at the time, I looked this up. So Oman and Saudi Arabia were facing civil unrest, as a result of the Arab Spring movement, and Yemen as well was spiraling into the movement's most violent and consequential uprisings at the time. Iran was gripped with domestic strife. The U.S. was actively withdrawing from Afghanistan at the time, and this was right around the height of their acid attacks on young women. Mm-hmm. And then these are all neighboring states in the region. And so why Dubai then? Given that, right? Because like you said, people were telling you don't go. Why did you go? What really drew you there?
So what publications were you looking at for all of this, the news that you were checking?
It was just internet search and AI search, essentially.
Okay, because honestly, I feel that this side before we answer that question, I just feel that this side exaggerates, and they only highlight the negatives and put it in your face that the Middle East is like really dangerous and bad. Of course, there's stuff going on there, but there's also dangerous stuff going on in Canada, in the USA. But I honestly, like, my experience in the Middle East is not any of that. And if they are happening, those things that you're talking about, they're in very remote areas that are not affecting the general public, to be honest with you. Like in like Dubai, for example. Your question was, hold on, let me answer your question. Um, can you ask me that question again?
So what was really the draw? So was it the
Okay,
cover
so
band that drew you to
no,
Dubai,
okay,
or is it something else?
no, actually, when I went to university, I went to York University, and I happened to make a lot of friends that were from Dubai, and I never even heard of this place. And then the Toronto Star one year, which I will always remember, on their front page, they were like Dubai, the new city that everyone's talking about, like some kind of headline like that. So I was like, oh, okay. And my friends that were from Dubai, they would always talk about how awesome it is. And one day I'm like, I'm just going to go there and take it over, and talking so much smack when I was like in university. And then when the opportunity arose, like my perception of Dubai was a city of opportunity and craziness and really like ball and stuff because I've heard so much about it before I went.
Right on. So this was just sort of like a whim and a prayer, sort of, as they say, right? You just kind of
I honestly
you
just
fall
applied
you
for an I applied for an ad on Facebook and they told me that I'm going to Dubai. And so I got the gig. And then it was a misleading because they're like, before you go to Dubai, though, like when I got it, they're like, you're not going to Dubai first. You're going to Muscat, Oman. And I was like, oh, what? Like, I've never even heard of this place. So I Googled, I was like, what is Oman? Right. So then I Googled it. And all at the time, at Google back in 2008, 2009, I was just seeing Bedouin outfits and rock desert. I just saw mountains, rock mountains, and it was like all sandy. And I was like, and I'm like, okay, this is all the information I have on Google. But you know what? I'm just gonna take the risk and go. Like I knew nothing about it. I did not know what I was getting myself into. Everyone's like, be careful, don't go, don't go. And I'm like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna take the risk and see what happens. And I did. And I took that risk, and it was a great risk. One of the best risks I ever took.
right on. Yeah, I mean, part of like the move abroad in general is just taking that risk, right? There's always this
Yeah.
element of just unknown, and you have to really embrace it in order to make that leap. So
Yeah.
yeah, good on you, man.
100%.
So you mentioned that you were working for credit card companies trying to get people in debt.
Yeah.
So how different is your life now?
Extremely different. Like I'm working full time, I'm freelancing, and I also just registered or renewed my business license so I can do business. So I'm able to do all three things at the same time, which is a blessing, which is probably extremely difficult to do in other countries. But you are capable of doing that in the United Arab Emirates. Dubai is the city, an emirate, but the country is the United Arab Emirates. So it's a good one, and I'm quite fortunate to be able to do all of that, to be honest with you, and enjoy the hot weather all year round. I'm not complaining about that either.
Yeah, no, yeah, we definitely don't miss shoveling here, living in
No.
Belize. Can you go a little bit more in depth into what exactly you do? You are part of what you do is you're a musician um,
Yes.
and entertainer. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so I started off as a cover band singer, and I did the grand opening for Hard Rock Cafe. I did in Festival City. I mean, when I went to the Middle East the first time, which was Oman and Dubai, I got a bit homesick, and I came back thinking that like I'm done with the Middle East. But then when I came back home, it kind of changed my whole perspective on everything, and I'm like, I need to get out of here. And then I got another gig, which was for the Hard Rock Cafe, or go to Indonesia, like Malaysia or one of these countries to do a contract there. But I chose to do Beirut, Lebanon, because I heard good things about Beirut, Lebanon. I heard it was a good party city at the time. So I was like, you know what? I want to go to Beirut and do the Hard Rock Cafe there. So we were waiting for the Hard Rock Cafe to open. And I was there for like 3 or 4 months in Beirut. Then we moved to Dubai, and then Hard Rock wasn't ready yet. So for a full year, I was getting paid just waiting for Hard Rock Cafe to open, and I would do other gigs. So I worked at Music Room. I've worked and I met some really great people from Music Room. Um, I just like, yeah, I worked for the first 5 or 6 years in the Middle East. I was full time cover banding, working 6 nights a week. I get a hotel accommodation, meals, and being getting paid, which was great. But then midway through that, I was like, I don't want to be in my 40s worrying about a contract as a musician. I have corporate experience because I worked for the Canadian federal government back in Canada for Canadian Heritage, the multicultural program. So I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get more into the corporate side of working in the Middle East because I haven't done that yet. And it'd be great because if I ever move back to Canada, I want to be able to say that I have international experience, because that it will elevate me over a lot of people that have not left the country, because I think international experience is extremely valuable experience because you're more understanding to different ways of people thinking and dealing with different kinds of characters and understanding different cultures. Um, so then I met it like so I told my friend, I'm like, I kind of want to find a job, and he connected me to the person that I'm currently working with now. And yeah, so I'm working for my full time job at the moment is I'm working for an app, a gaming app, and I'm like running the content and helping with the marketing and product marketing for that. So that's my full time job, and then I'm still emceeing. I've done lots of gigs all over town. I freelance and I do quiz nights, so that's my freelancing stuff. Because I since I've been in the Dubai for quite a long time, I've managed to just like build a reputation, and people contact me to either perform in gigs with the band, MC gigs, or do quiz nights and stuff. That's my most recent stuff. And then I have a business as well that I've had for a while, where I do production, social media, content creation, and events and stuff.
You mentioned a few different things there that I wanted to talk on. So you had mentioned you came back to Canada and you just felt something was off, and it led you to leave again. What exactly was that thing?
To be honest with you, it was just a feeling. I don't know exactly what it was. When I landed, I was looking around and just being like I just remember being like, "What? What is this? Why am I here?" It was just a instinct, a feeling that was like, I don't. I felt like I've changed so much within the 7 months. It was so weird because when I was like in Dubai for the first time, I was in an area called Bird Dubai, and I was just like, that wasn't really Dubai. That's old Dubai. But I was so homesick, and I'm like, I want to go home. I want to go home. And then I went home, and then I came home, and I wasn't feeling it. And I'm like, I need to get out of here. I guess it was because I wasn't finding work. That probably was one of the reasons that like the opportunity wasn't good here. I didn't want to go back to just being a restaurant server or doing a service job. I want to actually know, like, I would rather perform in a band than be a waiter, to be honest with you. No offense to people that do that stuff, but for my preference, I would rather be in a cover band performing in nightclubs than working in restaurants here. Because you know how competitive it is looking for corporate jobs, depending on your experience. Um, because I probably did apply to some stuff back in the day. But yeah, uh, I was like, I think I changed and I felt it. And I was like, I want to get back overseas. This place isn't for me. And obviously, the weather was killing my buzz because I was like, my first time experiencing 7 months of like nice weather. I'm like, why is it cold? I don't need to deal with this. I have opportunities to go back. So I think the weather was a big thing too. I'm like, bye.
Yeah, and at some point you like no longer have clothes for the
Yeah,
winter weather, and you're just like, I can't go back. It's got to be the summer, or else I can't go back.
exactly. Exactly.
um, Sticking with the career path stuff, this is something I like to cover on the podcast because it's kind of near and dear to me. I was a contractor in Canada, so I had a real boots on the ground job, and I've completely changed careers and pivoted into something new. I now have completely remote online work and content creation, and essentially digital marketing. And so, what for you has been the hardest kind of like career cost from from your decision to move abroad, or is there even one? Has it only been upside?
Honestly, to be honest with you, I don't think there was any costs. I think everything. Like I'm getting paid very well. I'm making money there. I'm living my best life out there. I honestly think I'd be struggling more here. I feel in Canada like first of all it's taxed a lot. There's a lot of like all these extra costs that come everywhere, literally in every crevice. They'll charge you for something, um, and you don't get that. You don't get that on the other side of the world. So I think it's much better for me overseas, in the Middle East or Dubai at least. Here,
Yeah,
like I just
yeah,
remember the
right on. No,
memory,
I mean,
the financial memory I have of Canada, like 'cause it's been so long ago, right? But when I remember living here, like I wasn't making a lot more surplus, and I was in debt. I was using credit card debt, and like you're either just trying to pay off your debt or just barely survive. But out there, I can save my money. I can see my money being saved. You know what I mean? And that's a massive, big difference. I feel like people in Canada are getting robbed of their life.
yeah, well, I mean, the system definitely, I would agree. Like this, and I don't think people realize it. Like the
No.
system back home is very centered around debt and taking on debt.
Mhm.
And like we moved to Belize, and like when we moved here, there was no mortgages even for like local people. They didn't have that. They had just introduced a home insurance,
And
right?
mind
Not
you,
that
off
that's
of
like an
that,
instrument of debt, but
but mind you, off of
yeah, go
that
ahead, sir.
debt, the debt happening in Canada as well, like they're also making money off of that debt because of interest. So it's just more greed and greed and greed of like people just somehow pocketing off of your, like issues, your financial issues in Canada. It's disgusting. But
Yeah,
what can
well,
you really
and
do
but
about it?
and the system, yeah. I mean, the system is sort of. I mean, well, you can leave. I guess you can exit the system, but like this, it's really designed around like encouraging you to take on that debt too, right? Like
Oh, I can go
you have
on.
these rewards cards and all this stuff, but really, like if you fall on hard times and you mismanage that card, those rewards really don't mean shit, right? It's actually just an instrument to get you to like convince you that, oh, this has some sort of benefit, but really the
Yeah,
only benefit is for the lender.
yeah,
um yeah, no, yeah, like everyone here, like the country is not super rich, but everybody here owns their shit, right?
and
So,
that's yeah,
I mean, like if you were to do like a cost comparison, so people might have a lot of stuff back in Canada, but like how much of it do you really own? If your house is mortgaged, your vehicles are leased, you have like your mechanical equipment of your home is on loan. Like all this stuff about you and your life is actually owned by somebody else, and you're paying rent on it, right? And
yeah,
but you can come here, someone may have a modest home, but they own it. It's theirs. There's no
yeah,
mortgage. There's no debt on it. It's theirs, right? So I think
yeah,
there's something important about that. And a lot of the world is like this, right? Is not like what you have in Canada and or the Western countries where it's just so debt heavy. And I think
yeah.
you just don't realize that when you live in it.
And you're being
You mentioned
taxed.
here, so yeah, and you're being taxed a high tax rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned here as referring to Canada. So you're back in Canada right now. You've been home. You've
Yes.
been home, quote unquote, home
Yeah.
for a couple weeks now. What are you excited to get back to Dubai? Do you have any sort of like, oh, I miss XYZ about Canada now that you're back,
Uh,
or are you just like,
no. Well, the
get
one
me the
thing
fuck out of here?
it depends. Like the one thing, no, no. Like before, I'm not like get me out of here because I like the nature and it's hot. It's still nice out. The weather, actually, no, I wouldn't say hot. It's nice. It's hot with the a chilly wind, but the nature, like, because I'm from Oakville and like Oakville has its beautiful trails. You know how Oakville is. Halton region is
Yep.
just full of trees, beautiful homes. It's so nice, and I'm forgetting that winter's on its way. So I'm in a good place. To be honest with you, Canada is like perfect without, for me, Canada is kind of perfect without the cold. So I don't mind being here for when it's hot and then leave when it gets cold. I don't mind that. But what I've noticed being back in Canada, because I go down Lakeshore a lot and I'm looking at these homes and I'm just like, man, there is so much wealth. There is a lot of wealth in Toronto and the GTA. Like, and I mean, like, there's three ways it could be. It could either be generational wealth, it could be wealth coming out from, internationally coming into the country. Or like some of those houses are like, laundered. How do you get all that money?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how in the world? Like, I can guarantee you, there's some of these houses that are making money off of like some shadiness because like there's so much money in this city. There really is, and not, I wouldn't say the city, but the whole like lakeshore and even the greater Toronto area. Like, I'm just seeing people and what the property value is ridiculously high with these properties as well. So I can see that
Yeah.
this area of the world, there is a lot of money here. But the question is, me as a nobody, how, like, if I stayed here, would I have gotten a great job? I don't know. Would I have networked my way and met someone that could have gotten me a good position? I don't know. Cause like the good thing that like being on this trip as well is seeing a lot of my friends and family. They all have, like, a lot of people are doing well. They have their own properties and stuff. And they're doing quite well for themselves depending on the industry that they're in. But me personally, I don't know where I would have been if I stayed here. And I guess I'll never know that. But I am very happy where I'm at in the UAE.
Yeah, again, it's like it's just that question, right? When you make these changes, you don't necessarily know how things would have been.
Yeah.
I feel if I hadn't left, I was at a point in my construction business that I was making the best money I'd ever made, and I was getting some of the best clients I'd ever made. But I was also just just endlessly driving around. I spent so many hours in the car, and it was just, there was so much overhead associated with that business. And it's definitely been a challenge to pivot careers here and start something fresh. But I'm starting to get some traction again here, and I can just see that this business is going to have just like the amount of extra time with no commute, the reduced overhead. It's going to be a lot more freeing of a career. Like this career, because it is not, to steal a saying from a guest who's coming on actually later this week, location independent career, right? Whereas my job before was very like, I had to be in a certain location doing the work. And this is a lot more freeing because the other job is like a bit like an anchor. If you want to go travel, you want to see the world, you can't work in construction. You got to be there installing the thing and building the house and doing whatever. But here, with a remote career, I can essentially go anywhere as long as I have an internet connection in my laptop. And there's something a lot more freeing about that. So again, like, yeah, I have the questions. Like, I could be probably doing really well there in construction right now if I stayed, but at the same time, there was a lot of stuff about it that I didn't like. So yeah. These questions arise, but it's best not to dwell too much on them because they're not really constructive.
To be honest with you, like, it's also about, a big thing about life is about your everyday happiness. And I definitely enjoy my everyday happiness way more on the other side of the world than here, because my everyday happiness here was not like, the weather changes, the cold weather, and also just the people here, they're very bitter. Like, so I just remember that, like, my memory of when I'm here for a long period of time, people are not as nice as Canadians seem they are, so I enjoy the pleasantries of the good weather, the good people, and the not being in debt.
Perhaps we've already covered this, but so what feels strange now being back in Canada that maybe was once normal? Beyond debt and winter,
I guess I noticed something very interesting. So I always tell people this, like, the longer I'm away from Canada, the more I can see how Canadians can be Canadian, and maybe not for the positive reasons. I feel that Canadians are very passive aggressive. We talked about this on our last talk, but obviously it didn't get aired. But the thing is,
didn't get
like,
recorded.
Recorded. Yeah, aired, recorded, whatever. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I find that Canadians, like, are very passive aggressive, and I feel like I've been speaking to a lot of different people this trip, and every single person was telling me a story of some sort of social drama that they were dealing with, and like, they're friends with someone, but then they're not cool with them and they continue hanging out with each other. And then it turns into like an even bigger drama and they're not talking anymore. Like at the end of it, like in different scenarios, maybe in work, maybe a social scenario, maybe, like just through the family. And like, I feel people here can't have hard conversations, or maybe they can, but like if they can't, like when their issue is like when there is an issue, like it's always underlying. It's never direct communication about the issue.
Mm.
It's just everything becomes passive, and then it just turns and explodes into a drama without any proper communication on what the actual problem is. And I feel that this is a very Canadian quality, because I feel
Mm.
there, from my
Interesting.
experiences in different parts of the world, like people are just direct, or you'll get punched in the face, or like there's just people with different mentalities. But here, everyone's just so, yeah, okay, everything's cool, but it's not cool. And you're not going to ever
Mm.
say, no, I don't like you. It's not cool. You're just going to be like, yeah, okay, that's all right. I'll see you next time. No, I won't see you. Do you know what I mean? Like there's this fakeness is the best way to put it. And I sound so negative saying it, but I don't care. Like I've seen this as a very, and maybe it's just Ontario because all the other provinces call Ontario terrible. I learned this internationally.
Terrible.
Did,
Yeah.
did you know about this? Did you know about this? I heard about this when I was in the
I knew
UAE.
about.
So
Yeah, yeah. I knew about this. I've heard this. Yeah.
all you Ontarians that don't know this, every single other province calls us on terrible. And that's because of what I'm talking about, because of your fakeness. Be nice. If you have a problem, call it out, have an uncomfortable conversation and move on.
Yeah. Amen. Amen to that. Yeah. Okay, so I had this question here. I wasn't sure if I was going to ask it, but this seems like a good opportunity. So, if you had to write a Canada track, like a song, after
Mm-hmm.
this visit, what would the course say?
Oh my God, that's a great question. And because it ties into what I want to talk about. Um, it would be about, I don't know exact wording, but I would actually talk about, um, be aware of what's going on with your tax dollars. It would be something I'd want to let Canadians know, like, be aware of what's going on with your tax money. I don't know how I'd word it. I'd have to really put that concept into consideration. But like the reason why I say this is because I was literally just having a conversation with, like, there's so much, you guys are being taxed for so much, every area. There's like, and do you guys know where the money's going? So then a day later, I went and watched this thing on CBC. And it turns out that there's some shadiness going on with H&R Block and Canada Revenue Agency. Like, look it up. Like, it's a documentary that
Hmm.
I just
Okay.
landed, like, I just watched. And Canadians need to be more aware of it. Like, so on this documentary, there was this lady talking about, you guys would be surprised. You guys, and she wouldn't say the number, but she's like, she was anonymous, obviously, but she works at Canada Revenue Agency, or he, I don't know, works at Canada Revenue Agency. And they were saying that, like, the amount of money that goes missing or that's been fraudulent is quite high, and you'd be surprised with the numbers that are high. Like, and she was even, or he or she was even saying more Canadians should be aware of this. So there's this something is
Hmm.
shady's happening with H&R Block and Canada Revenue Agency, where apparently this last year, like I don't quote me on the number, but it's a high number. But I think it was like 128 million tax dollars have gone missing, and people's identities have been taken. You guys, I'm not making this up. You can look it up, and this is just for the previous year. So think of like, so to answer your question again, because I went a little bit off, was I want come up with a concept to get a very simple ABC lyric kind of chorus that would get people to, question what's going on with your tax dollars. That's what the song would be about.
Right on. Right
People
on.
need to know about
That's
this.
yeah. Interesting
Look it
concept.
up. It's on
You
CBC.
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe the whole thing about people's identities being stolen because mine was stolen in 2023 in the fall,
Yeah.
and it was a fucking nightmare to try to sort out from here. It
Yeah. Some
was
of these people
no
are
one
still
gives a shit.
waiting. No one cares. No one cares.
Nobody gives a shit. You call the government, you call the RCMP, you call, and they're just like, meh. too bad kind of thing. Like they do not help you. Their only solution is, oh well, if you're abroad, you just got to come back to Canada. And I'm like, well, what's that gonna do? Like what? If you can't help me
Wow.
now, if I'm telling you, like I still have to tell you, like I can't go to a government office necessarily, like this CRA, and then have a meeting with somebody. You couldn't even
Did
leave
they
messages at the time because it was still like kind of COVID, and you would call them, and they'd be like, "Our voicemail is full. Call back," and you just keep going back week after week, day after
yeah,
day, and it's the same
exactly.
message. They just don't pick up, and they don't clear their inbox, and it's just like, well, how am I supposed to tell anybody? You call the police. The police are like, "Oh, well, this is like a local crime, so you have to know in order to place a police report, you have to know where the crime happened." I'm like, well, this was done like digitally, so I don't know where the crime happened. So
Did they
eventually,
use your
actually, what saved me? Sorry.
No, I was gonna like, did they cash your tax like returns and stuff, or like were they taking your money and taking your checks? Like that's what's going on in this documentary, and they're also trying to contact, and because they're all their accounts were frozen. They said that there's fraudulent activity with these people, and so they're locked out of their accounts. You're saying the exact same thing they're saying in this documentary. So it's like a problem. I don't know if you're going through the exact same issue, but like that's
No,
messed up, man.
it's no, it's not quite the same, but I don't think I had any tax related sort of issues with it. But just in general, the having your identity stolen is just a yeah, it's just a fucking nightmare. It's no one really gives a shit about it if it happens to you. It's completely up to you to sort it out. And the only thing that saved me was the person who stole my identity was able to get a vehicle, and then they did a theft of gas, and then the cops tracked me down. And then I was able to be like, hey, it's not me. I'm in Belize. And I had to go and show like a receipt from somewhere and like do a Google like location timestamp thing and send it to them. And then I was actually that police officer, because I helped that with that case. He then pushed it out to like, and I was able to like use that and get like a bunch of the stuff sorted out, like the essentially the car under my name. Well, it wasn't a car; it was an $85,000 truck. This person was able to get in my name. Yeah, it was
Wow.
fucking crazy. So, anyways, all that is sorted, but only because the guy essentially created like he committed a crime, and then he was driving around on the 407 and shit, and I'm getting which is a paid toll route for people who don't know, and
Yeah, I
I'm
drove on
getting
that.
because I had an account for work, so I was still in the system. So I'm getting emails being like pinging me, being like, here's your bill from when you drove." I'm like, well, that wasn't me. I haven't been in the country for a year and a half. So the guy was a little bit brazen. So he ended up. I don't know if they ever caught him, but he certainly he dumped his effort. He abandoned his effort on trying to get anything else from me. But yeah, no, it fucks shit up, man. We're over here trying to get Canadian bank accounts because we had to like scuttle bank accounts and shit like that so that they can't get access to anything. And it was just, yeah, it was fucking crazy.
Wow.
Anyways, that's a side note. So just last thing for the careers, because the career is like I think an important part of when you move abroad, right? Because you got to work and sustain yourself. So what advice do you have for someone moving abroad and pivoting careers? Like what can make that transition smoother?
If you are young, if you are have a lot of time ahead of you and you don't know what you want to do, but you want to see what else is out there, I highly suggest that you become cabin crew and go around the world and go to different locations, meet as many people as you can, get connections, because in the end, it's your connections, it's who you know. And, just live life all around if you can for not even paying for it and just see what works for you. For people that are not that age that could just do that, spend that time doing that. For people now, if things aren't going good for you, take the risk and go somewhere else. Like places in the Middle East, the Middle Eastern region has a lot of opportunity. Africa's thriving, even though once again the media gives Africa a bad name all the time. But no, Africa's thriving economy. Same with East Asia and even South America. Like these are all emerging markets, and emerging markets like is really where it's at for people that feel that there is no opportunity for them left in places like where we're from, because the markets are saturated, and it's just tough. So my advice is just take that risk and get out there, because the passports that we hold as Canadians are heavy, meaning like you could actually get access into a lot of countries. You could potentially get opportunities, great opportunities abroad. So look at those options. Don't hold yourself back. That risk could be one of the best decisions you make in your life, like how it was one of mine.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the Canadian passport is like a very privileged passport.
Yeah,
I've come to realize, even in here in Belize, it means like a cheaper residency process because they're part of the Commonwealth as well. And then I would just add to for like say someone who's older and had like a job like mine where it was you had to be your boots on the ground and you want to transition to something more remote is start kind of ahead of time. Give yourself a year or so just to start to learn some of the new skills of what it is that you want to do and build that up and try to get some small gigs and stuff like that. It was tough for me to do that ahead of time just with the cadence of our move. And then we had two young kids. Our kids were 6 weeks or 7 weeks old and a year and a half when we moved. So trying to start a new career was pretty tough, looking after kids with no family support and stuff. But yeah, if you have the opportunity to build some skills ahead of time, is get on that as soon as you can. If even if you're just considering a move abroad right now, just start building those new skills and that skill set and what it is you want to do.
I think to add on top of what you're saying as well is that like you need to understand that sometimes like you can just you don't sometimes you don't even need experience depending on the country that you're in. Like they might just hire you because you're Canadian and you sound like you're from people from the TV. You sound like you're from Hollywood, so people gravitate
Yeah.
towards that. So that's another privilege to take advantage of, all my Westerners.
Yeah. Yeah, like back in the day when like my brother was just graduating university and even when kind of we were graduating university, you could just go to like Korea, South Korea, China, Taiwan and just teach English. You didn't need a teaching background or anything. If you were just like a Westerner, English first language, you could just start teaching, right? Just because of the nature of your native language. I don't really know what the case is anymore regarding that. I
I
don't know
think
if
that's
that
changed a
industry's
bit.
kind of
I think it's
that's
changed a
played
bit, but
out a
maybe
bit,
not.
right? But
Maybe not. I'm not sure. But yeah.
so we're seeing like all around the world. I think we talked about this the first time, but it's an important topic. Some like anti-foreigner sentiment growing. We're seeing kind of there in Mexico City. There's been a lot of I think there was like riots at one point just in the last couple months. We are seeing Italy and Spain kind of getting rid of their golden visa programs and a lot of sort of negative sentiment towards the foreign community because of rising property values and stuff like that. Are you seeing anything like that in Dubai?
Absolutely not. The reason why is because that region's developing. It's an emerging market. And so they're building and building. And also, for all of you that don't know much about Saudi's constructing like 15 to 20, even more cities that will be like Dubai. So they need as many international people to come in and help build their cities. So it's not on the same level as what's going on in these saturated markets where it's like Eurocentric countries where they don't want, they're kind of over the amount of immigrants coming into their countries. It's not anywhere like that. The UAE is just on some next level of like development, and Saudi Arabia as much, even more so. So I don't think anytime soon they're going to be wanting to kick out immigrants because the both, especially UAE, is built off of immigrants, and they're quite
Mm.
welcoming. Both nations are quite welcoming. Don't listen to the media; they're quite welcoming.
So they have a good like perspective too of on like long term expats and not just like the tourism and stuff
Yes,
like that. It's like they want people to come and help build and
yes.
develop.
UAE especially. I'm sure it's Saudi Arabia as well, but UAE has the golden visa. They're making it easier to retire in the country, so there's lots of positives with this region of the world. when it comes to immigration. It's good value
Right
for
on.
money.
That's I mean, that's good to know. Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is like property values and stuff like that like generally affordable and stuff like,
I would say more
or
so affordable than here in Canada. Like here in Toronto, I mean, or GTA, like it's ridiculously expensive. I think you can get more value out there with the same prices of property here. I think it's yeah. I guess it just depends what you're looking
yeah,
for.
yeah.
But
That's
I feel the property you can get some good properties out there and get a high turnover. Like if you were to get it off plan, like your properties could sometimes double to triple in the amount, which does not happen here like that much, you know? So
hmm yeah, not anymore. Maybe like 10, 15 years ago,
yeah, exactly.
people could do that, but yeah, that's good to know. I've seen a lot too on TikTok. I'm always kind of looking for people to have on as guests,
Yeah.
and I've come across a couple African American women actually who live in China,
Oh wow.
and they say something very similar. Yeah, they're all for like they live very well there, and they're well accepted, and like if you're looking for a new career, you can apparently go and start businesses as like a, oh, I forget what's the name of the, she like essentially picks stuff for other businesses in North America, and then like coordinates
Mm.
shipping goods and stuff
Okay.
there. But they need like, these companies need people at the location to like procure and select the goods and stuff like that. And she said it's like a
Interesting.
very lucrative job. Yeah, I can't remember her name. I've asked her to be on the podcast. Anyways, I'm waiting to hear back. We'll see what happens.
Cool.
So, what sort of personal adjustments have helped you stay respectful of the local culture while staying authentic? Because I feel like what you do is very much, it's still you, but obviously you're in a new culture, and you have to sort of adjust and respect. So like, what's your strategy for kind of striking that balance?
Well, the thing that made it really easy for me is I quit drinking. And so since I don't drink anymore, I think that is probably
Good for you.
the answer for me because I was quite crazy. Um, drinking culture is so heavy growing up, but I'm really happy I was able to stop it, and I'm respecting in that way. I'm sober all the time. I am comprehending everything when I go out. I'm like being respectful. Um,
Good, yeah, good,
yeah,
good for you, man. It's a challenge here, right? It's just like, this is a
yeah,
tourist area. Drinking is like the main pastime, and it's something that we found to be a challenge, right? We try to do these like dry periods, and we've done them, but it's easy to get sucked back in. You go out to something and you see some friends, and they're like, "Oh, have a beer," right? And it's easy for one beer to turn into a several, and yeah, so that's good, man. Good for you. That's
yeah. It's bad for your
yeah,
health.
that's not
That's like a
easy
main
thing to
thing.
do.
Yeah, for me, it's more bad for
Yeah.
your health. So I'm just trying to stay healthy as much as I can now that I'm 40. So,
Oh, yeah. So how do you manage relationships? This is another topic that comes up a lot in the kind of expat community, is, building new relationships abroad, but also staying connected with people at home. How have
okay,
you found that?
it's the hardest in
What,
Canada because it's like a 9 hour difference. So when I'm waking up, everyone's going to sleep. When I'm going to bed, everyone here is waking up. So it's extremely hard. Fortunately, I'm really good with my social. Like I'm really good with staying in contact with people. And even if I don't speak to people for a very long time, I'm at least like when I see them, it feels like nothing's changed. So I have a lot of those kind of relationships in Canada. So when I'm here, it's lovely. With my parents and my brother and sister, we do have well, my brother and sister have my like WhatsApp group or my Facebook group where we chat there. So we're constant there. My mom and dad recently just got online. They're in their like late 70s. And they just got onto WhatsApp and Facebook. So I am communicating with them more frequently as well. So thank you, technology. Thank you for my parents for getting on the technology finally. Um, and
yeah.
then relationships for me has always been quite easy. And the thing is, in Dubai, it's quite easy to make friends. It's quite easy to build new relationships. Like I was in the entertainment and I still am, so I'm able to meet people on a regular. I'm very community driven, so I do host some like community food events back in Dubai. So I'm always working on the social because it's really important for your well-being. We're social human beings, and it's important to like keep and sustain good relationships. So I haven't had many issues with that. The only issue is the time difference. So me speaking to anyone in Canada on a regular is not possible. It's just no, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I remember my middle brother lived in South Korea and in Hong Kong. So
Hmm.
he spent probably 14 or 15 years in total doing that.
Hmm.
And I've actually, it's funny that your parents just got on WhatsApp because I've literally been on WhatsApp for like 20 years because like when it first came out, Nick
Me
was
too.
my brother was the one who introduced it to me, being like, yo, you know, if we want to communicate, like this is the best way because it's free. You just need the internet. And so I've been on it for like ever. And it was great. It was like the main reason why we really stayed in touch
Yeah, yeah,
while he was gone for all those years. So it's been a great tool to have. But yeah, it was always, you know, like we're messaging each other like I'm at the bar and he's getting up to go to work kind of thing.
yeah. It's so awkward.
That time difference is always weird. Yeah, it
It's
really
very
is. Yeah.
awkward. Yeah. And like, I think because like is it a 12-hour difference? Because like for me, like for example, if it was like exactly a 12-hour, at least I would know it's 1 a.m. over there. But having that like 9-hour difference, it's kind of like they're
Mhm.
just about to go to bed. I'm just
Yeah.
about to. It's just weird. It's really weird.
Yeah. Hong Kong was 12 and 13, depending on Canadian
Okay.
daylight savings times. But yeah, that made it a bit easier because it was like, you know, like if you're kind of like in your regular routine, the other person is typically like also winding down at some point. You know what I mean? Either
Yeah.
morning and the evening kind of stuff always kind of lines up a little bit. But
Yeah.
um, we briefly touched on this already, but like, how do you manage your money abroad? Like, are you fully integrated into Dubai banking system, or do you still like have Canadian accounts that you're using?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How
I
does
have
that
both.
work for you?
I have I have Canadian
Yeah.
accounts that are being managed by my family, and then I have my Dubai account, which I'm managing as well. I only recently just started getting into saving. I've been spending. I'm also a music artist, so a lot of my money has been going to my music. Which, as an independent artist, like the return on investment is very low. So I've just like been investing a lot into my music. So I have a big catalog, so I can do big shows later down the road. So I'm still working on the investment, but only like in the last 2 years, I really started focusing on my savings, and I have some money in crypto as well. I'm
Hmm.
hoping some alternative coins just go crazy like how Bitcoin did. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a little bit of that too. I think it's a good thing to dabble into, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
If you can, it's a way to diversify some, you know,
yeah.
of your cash. So,
Assets. Yeah.
um, okay, I always like to try to give actionable advice for people here who may be watching. So, what's one mistake that you would steer a new expat away from, um, and one habit you would insist they adopt um, in like their first month abroad?
Habit. Okay, so if you're going alone, like get yourself out there meeting people, especially in your first few, like your first month or two, like the first month. Like try and do your research and see where you can meet people that work for your preference. Because like maybe you like sports, maybe you like nature, maybe you just want to go out and have a drink, maybe you're a foodie. So I would just suggest you do your research, depending where you're going, and like try and make some friends. Like join those. There's a lot of these groups that are like for expats abroad. I forgot the names of them, but there's some like big ones that you should just go through. It's this is only if you don't know anyone there. But yeah, that would be my advice on that is because people really make or break your experiences. And people are like your good life hack. If you meet great people wherever you are, they could be contributing to your everyday happiness in that country. So
Yeah,
try and find
right
that.
on. Yeah, I mean, you can essentially just search like on Facebook the groups whatever country and expat essentially, and there's pretty much there'll be at least one group for that country, if not dozens. Like Belize has just tons. So then, what's one mistake that you can think of that you made that you would advise people like, oh, don't do this? Drink too much,
Um,
probably.
I absolutely don't drink. Like, quit alcohol if you can. You know, I would say, I would say, um, you should learn about the laws, like in the country as well. Like, don't be surprised. Get surprised because like every country's different, right? So you should really do your due diligence and know what you can and cannot do in the country. Would be my advice going into a foreign country. It's really important.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And like, because there's a lot of kind of cultural nuances with a lot of places, and it could even just be like turns of phrases and stuff that you shouldn't say that may, your Google Translate might just give you a generic,
Like,
saying for, and then it's like you shouldn't actually say that thing.
I have a really bad story that I can share. Well, I'll just share. It's fine. And I didn't
Yeah,
know.
go for
Like,
it.
I didn't. So this is like I was at one of the airports. I think I was at one of the Omani airports, and I went into. I thought that like so I went into like the washroom, and there was an area with the fountain or whatever, but it looked like in Canada it looks like one of those places where you just go and pee in. It was actually it was actually like a praying area where people wash their feet, and I was like, and I went in, and anyway,
Oh
that
shit.
I corrected myself and got out of there, and I got out of that, but I honestly did not know. So these are things that like these things can happen to people. Like, yeah, it's quite embarrassing, but
Oh
there
man.
was no disrespect to that at all. I just didn't know, and these things sometimes you just really need to know. Uh, so you don't get in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just saw a TikTok video of I'm not sure where they were. Maybe it was in like Spain or Italy or something. And there was just some foreigner putting their feet into this fountain. And there was all these people sitting around it. And nobody else was doing it. And this person was sitting there like with their feet in the fountain. And yeah, the cops came and just like arrested that person. And it was just like some young woman and she didn't really know what she was doing. But it's like like read the room too, right? If nobody else
Yeah,
is
yeah,
doing
yeah,
this
yeah.
thing,
Yeah,
why
exactly.
the fuck are you putting your feet in here when nobody else is like splashing around and shit in there, right? So it's like have some common
Yeah,
sense too, right?
yeah, exactly.
Um, so you're heading back to Dubai tonight, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm flying out tonight. Yeah.
What do you think is going to be the hardest thing to like leave behind for Canada?
I would have to say my family, my parents, they're getting older. My mom, like I came back to visit her. Her leg isn't doing too well. She needs to exercise more. So, and she just was at the doctor today checking because she hurt her leg. So that's the hardest being the fact that like, my friend, he told me like, you're only coming back once a year. So how many times are you gonna, my parents are in their late 70s, so what, how many times are you going to see them? Like 20 more times at most, or like who knows, maybe even longer, maybe less. But that really shook me. And I just need to be like, normally when I come back I'm always out hanging out with friends and stuff, but now I'm more conscious of making sure that 50% I'm at home and 50% I'm out because I need to spend more time with my family. And I think it's going to be more
Hmm.
and more like that the older I get. So like these are the years when I come to Canada that I should be focusing on my parents. So that's the
Yep.
long term plan every time I come back. And if I can come back more than once a year, then I will. But that's quite expensive. So, but I might be able
Yeah.
to afford that anyway. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you have any like guilt around being abroad? I know like I kind of like struggle with it a little bit because I got two young boys and we essentially moved away like the moment my youngest was born, and
Mm-hmm.
I always have like a little bit of guilt around taking my kids away from my grandparents, or my parents, sorry, their grandparents, even though that I know that my parents did the same thing. Like they
Mm-hmm.
moved from Nova Scotia to Ontario, and I wasn't even born in Nova Scotia. Um, but and we had family, and then we only saw like my aunts, uncles, and my grandmother and grandpa, like my oma, opa, and stuff, like once a year. Yeah. Do you have any like guilt around that, and like what do you kind of do? How do you balance that?
Um, I, I, I guess I have a little bit of guilt for that for sure. But the thing is, my purpose of being out there is to, build something very strong and hopefully be able to acquire what I want to acquire out there the same time my parents are still around, so I can then come back and be way more, impactful. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my way of looking at it. Like I'm not out here in the Middle East wasting time. I'm building, and eventually, like I'm going to like mix the worlds when I can financially, So
Yep.
that's the way I see it. Like there's purpose for me being out there, which is why I don't feel as guilty. If I went out there and I'm just like living my life and not really building anything, then yeah, I would should definitely feel guilt. But that's not what's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and it's important to like, I kind of like, I don't want to say justify it, but I kind of balance that out with, I'm doing something that's meaningful for me, and that what,
Hmm.
and Canada doesn't necessarily provide me the way that I want to live, so I'm finding it elsewhere, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You got to live your life for yourself and for your family, and I mean, and like I said, they did the same thing, right? They left their family, even like their grandparents, like they moved from Holland to Canada, right? So like there's
Hmm.
almost like a tradition of like kind of doing this, and to some degree, I'm carrying that tradition on. Um,
That's funny.
so um, so I got a few more questions here. We're wrapping up because we're getting close on the time, and I want to be mindful of your time, especially you got to leave. If Canada were a person, what would you say to them as a goodbye this trip?
It's been great. I love spending time with you when the sun hits. It's so lovely here. But I can't take your coldness. See you next year.
That's interesting. That's definitely like a dual meaning based on what we said. Their coldness as in weather, and their coldness as in maybe demeanor.
Exactly. No, but I love the way the sun hits. The way the sun hits here is so nice. I can't explain it. It's different. It is different. This place is very sunny, which is nice. Even in the winter, I remember like it's always sunny here, and when it's sunny here, it's really nice
Yeah,
visibly.
no, it is. They have great summers, and like early fall, or like this time of the
Hmm.
year really too, where it starts to kind of cool down a bit, but it's still like warm during the day. Is always really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so finish this sentence.
Okay.
Living abroad taught me to blank, or taught me blank, and Canada reminded me to blank.
Okay. Living abroad has taught me to be way more accepting and also to um, question everything, take the next step, take an opportunity, like don't always take that risk, explore. And then, what was the second part? Canada? What is it?
Canada reminded me to.
Okay. Then Canada reminded me to, check up on the people that I love here and to keep working hard so I can come back and make my international impact on the people that are in Canada here as well.
So, say you're talking to a 19-year-old right now.
Mhm.
They aren't sure what to do. Go to school, get a degree, or buy a plane ticket somewhere. What's your 30-second answer?
Um, I would always say go to school to get a degree, but that's becoming a lot more irrelevant over time. So if you're going to go on the plane, I suggest you learn about AI prompting at least. So learn about AI if you're not going to be uh, going to school and get on that plane.
All right, Alan, thanks so much again for jumping on and talking to me. Where can people find you
Uh, you could
online?
find you can find me on my YouTube, which is Alan. Let me just check Alan J Film. I don't even remember. That's so embarrassing. And you can find me at Alan
I'll put it in
J.
the show notes too.
Okay, it's Alan J Amazing is my tagline, or is my handle, and Alan J underscore Amazing is my Instagram. You can find me on those, and you can see my link tree, and you can find me as on Spotify as an artist as Alan ALAN space J. Those are all the areas where you can find me: my YouTube, my Spotify, and my Instagram. I'm also on TikTok, and yeah, those are the main ones that I'm on where you can find me: YouTube, Spotify, or Instagram, I would suggest.
Right on. All right. Thank you so much. It's
Okay.
like, again, pleasure speaking to you. I've had a great time again,
Always.
and safe travels back to Dubai. And
Cool.
yeah, all the best with what you're building, man.
And it's great what you're doing too, because more people need to hear the perspective of expats outside of these different countries, because it is very insightful, and hopefully it'll inspire people to take that risk and make that difference if their current lives are not the best.
Right on. That's great. Great point to end it on. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I want to do this, because I think it is important. The
very.
world seems to be shrinking in their mindset, and really what we need to be doing is expanding it. And that's what I'm hoping to kind of do here, and share people's stories and let them know that, yeah, there's a different way to live. And yeah, the world's not as scary and, as bad as maybe the news media makes you think it is. So
Yeah, they just want you to stay in the
yeah,
country
so
and spend into their own country. That's all. That's the reason. They're trying to scare you.
yeah, and harvest their tax dollars.
Cool, man.
All righty. Take
All
it
right.
easy. Thanks
Take care,
again.
man.
All the
All right.
best.
See ya.
See ya.